Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are good. So today our topic is Bryophytes of plant kingdom. So let's get started. First of all, bryophytes are called the amphibians of the plant kingdom. So it's a very important line. If I hope you are familiar with the term amphibian. Amphibian refers to either those plants or animals which live both on land as well as in water. So see, bryophytes are amphibians because they can live in soil but simultaneously are also dependent on water for reproduction. Basically, water here acts as a medium for the transportation of both the male and female gametes, which results in their fusion and further sexual reproduction. So I hope this line is clear to you. Further moving, they occur in damp, humid and shaded localities, which further focuses on the point that they reside in an area which is nearby a water source. They play an important role in plant succession on bare rocks or soil. So bryophytes are the plants which along with lichen are the first to colonize any locality, any land. Okay, further moving we have is the main plant body in bryophytes is a haploid gametophyte. So regarding this terminology, I have already covered this all in my video, so I would recommend you all to just go through this video once. So here they have told you about the types of gametophyte, the main plant body in this case, and it is of two types. It might be thalloid and it might be erect as well. So thalloid gametophyte is present in liverworts. Actually bryophytes are classified into liverworts and mosses, and among them in liverworts we see the thalloid gametophyte, and in mosses we see erect gametophyte. So thalloid refers to a flat mat-like gametophyte in which we can see rhizoids. So these rhizoids are root-like structures whose purpose is for attachment, not for absorption. And moving to erect gametophyte, which is seen in mosses, we have leaf-like, stem-like and root-like structures. So basically you have to keep in mind, in bryophytes we do not have true root, true stem and true leaf. Okay, there are structures which resemble the true leaf, true stem and true roots, and they are given the name phylloid. For stem like we say colloid, and for root like structure the term rhizoid is used. We can also read it from here that this gametophyte may be thalloid, for example in liverworts, and in mosses it is erect with stem like colloid, leaf like phylloid and root like rhizoid structures. And these rhizoids, because these are not the true roots, they are meant for attachment with the substratum and not for absorption. Further moving, we would be covering the structure of antheridium and archegonium. As I have already told in my previous videos, antheridium is the male sex organ and archegonium is the female sex organ in case of bryophytes. Starting with the structure of antheridium, we can see a sterile jacket and antherozoid mother cells which are haploid. Now these antherozoid mother cells will be dividing mitotically because they are haploid to form haploid male gametes which are given the name antherozoid. These male gametes are motile and biflagellated, that is they are having two flagella for locomotion, and after the formation they are released into water. They will swim up to the female gamete which is present inside the archegonium. So this point itself signifies why bryophytes are amphibians of the plant kingdom. We can see the role of water in this case. Water helps the flagellated male gametes, that is antherozoids, to come in contact with the female gametes for reproduction. Now we can see the structure of archegonium, which is the female sex organ. So we can see it is a flask shaped structure with different type of cells present, that is neck canal cells in the neck area, venter cells, egg cell, and a sterile jacket is also present in this case. Now these neck canal cells, what is their purpose? Basically when this female sex organ matures, these neck canal cells dissolve to form a gradient, a chemical gradient which kind of attracts the male gametes to come in archegonium. Now this egg cell is large and non-motile. The male gamete being small and motile would enter the archegonium and fertilization would take place. So I hope you are familiar with this kind of sexual reproduction, which is called oogamy. It implies in which So I hope you are familiar with this kind of sexual reproduction, which is oogamy. It refers to a type of reproduction in which one gamete, usually the female one, is large and non-motile, and the other is small and motile, which is the male one often. Further moving, zygote is formed inside archegonium because fusion is occurring inside it. Further, this zygote will develop into an embryo, and this embryo will develop into a sporophyte, which is diploid. So I have already told you a sporophyte would always be diploid. Okay, and this diploid sporophyte would remain attached on the gametophyte. So basically this becomes a very important question in itself, that in bryophytes, sporophyte is non-green, non-photosynthetic and parasitic over gametophyte, and this is a unique feature of bryophytes. So you have to keep this in mind. This is an important thing to remember. Now let's see the life cycle of liverworts, which is haplodiplontic. Now basically I'll be starting with spores. Now spores are haploid structures which would be directly on germination give rise to the main plant body, which in bryophytes is gametophyte, and of course it is a haploid structure, green, photosynthetic, independent and thallus like, because we're talking about liverworts here. Okay, now this gametophyte would be producing gametes on maturation, which on fusion will undergo fertilization, and it would be forming a zygote. Further, it would transform into an embryo, and this embryo would be forming a sporophyte, which is diploid structure, non-green, non-photosynthetic and parasitic over the gametophyte. And further, this sporophyte would be producing spores through meiosis, and this process would go on and on. So we have covered the first and second paragraph from NCERT. You can just go through it once. We'll be doing is the third paragraph, which tells us about the economic importance of bryophytes, or more precisely mosses. The first one being that mosses are used as food for herbaceous mammals, birds and other animals. The second says species of sphagnum, a moss. It provides peat, which has been used as a fuel. So I hope you know peat is a form of coal. So it is used as fuel and as a packing material for transshipment of living material because of its capacity to hold water. So for example, you have to transship any plant, so you can just cover this moss around it, and because of its capacity to hold water, the transshipment becomes easy without the decay of that living plant material. Okay, further we have covered this point that mosses along with lichens are the first organism to colonize rocks, and therefore it is highly of economic importance. Further, they decompose rocks, making the substrate suitable for the growth of higher plants. So this is the reason why the first thing to colonize rocks is mosses along with lichens. Okay, because they decompose the rocks, the substrate becomes suitable for the growth of higher plants, as pteridophytes, gymnosperm, angiosperm. Since mosses form dense mats on the soil, they reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent the soil erosion. So these were some of the economic importance of mosses. Yes, so let's start liverworts. So basically all the understanding portion has been covered. Now there would be some lines which you have to just learn as they are given. So let's start. First thing, they have told you that liverworts grow in moist shady habitats like banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, etc. Basically all which supports the fact why they are present near water body, because water is essential for their reproduction. Further moving, they have given example of a liverwort which is mergentia, so it becomes important. Okay, and they have told you that this liverwort is thalloid in structure. So we have already covered what a thallus is. Then they have given the description of that thallus, that the thallus is dorsiventral, closely appressed to the substrate, something like a dorsiventral thing which is appressed to the substrate. Okay, then they have told you further about its appearance. The leafy members, they have tiny leaf-like appendages in 2 rows on the stem-like structure. This is basically the description paragraph. Then comes the types of reproduction. So asexual reproduction takes place by fragmentation of thalli, we all know. Then an important point to be covered here is another type of asexual reproduction, which is through gamma. This is important thing, like special structures called gamma are formed. So basically it is a type of asexual reproduction, and furthermore a type of asexual budding, because gamma are, see, this description is very important. I'm again emphasizing on this point that gamma are green multicellular asexual buds. This can come, okay, asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called gamma cups, which are located on the thalli. Okay, it's just similar to that of budding, in which a bud just detaches itself from the parent body, then again grows to form a gametophyte. Similarly here, the gamma becomes detached from the parent body and germinate to form new individual. During sexual reproduction, the male and female sex organs are produced either on the same or different thalli. On the basis we call them monoecious or dioecious. The sporophyte is differentiated into a foot, seta and capsule. After meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule, and these spores germinate to form free living gametophytes. Made just to make you clear about this concept. So this all is a sporophyte which is attached to a gametophyte. Now we have done that sporophyte is divided into 3 parts, which is a capsule, a seta and a foot. So let's understand the role. Now this foot, basically it joins the sporophyte with the gametophyte, and this seta is used to raise the level of this capsule. Okay, and what is the function of capsule? Capsule, it contains diploid spore mother cells which will undergo meiosis to form spores. So basically it is full of spores. Okay, so once again I'll repeat, this foot is used to join the sporophyte and gametophyte together. This seta is used to raise the level of the spores which are present in the capsule. So now let's see mosses. So basically it's just the same as liverworts, just some minute differences are there. So first of all, the predominant stage of life cycle is gametophyte, already covered, which consists of 2 stages, the protonema stage and the leafy stage. Now this protonema stage is developing directly from a spore. Okay, so sporophyte is producing spores, and that spore first of all is forming a protonema stage. Now the description has been given that it is a creeping green branched frequently filamentous stage. Then comes the second stage, which is the leafy stage, which is formed from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. So basically the protonema would be formed from a spore which would be forming further secondary protonema in the form of a lateral bud, which would form a leafy stage. They consist of upright slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves and are attached to the soil through multicellular and branched rhizoids. So again the difference comes is that in liverworts we see unicellular rhizoids, and in mosses we see multicellular rhizoids, and this leafy stage would be bearing sex organs. So basically, of course it is of no use, regardless, no questions can be formed from this paragraph, but still it's given in the NCERT, so we have to cover it. Further, vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation and budding method in the secondary protonema. In sexual reproduction, the sex organs, that is antheridia and archegonia, would be formed at the apex of the leafy shoots. Already covered that leafy shoots would be forming the leafy stage, or the leafy shoots would be bearing the sex organs, that is antheridia and archegonia. And after fertilization, the zygote would develop into a sporophyte consisting of a foot seta capsule, and the sporophyte is more elaborate than in liverworts. So this line is important, the distinguishing line, this one and this line. Okay, further, spores are formed after meiosis. The mosses have elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. And then come some examples. So see, examples are very important. This you have to keep in mind, that is Funaria, polytrichum, and sphagnum. So sphagnum we have also covered in the uses, that this is used for transshipment purposes. Okay, yes, so now we would be doing some important NCERT diagrams. So the first one is of liverworts. The first A part shows you the female thallus and the B part shows you the male thallus. And how do we come to know the difference? It is because of these structures. Archegoniophore is present on the female and Enthridiophore in case of males. And we can see here gamma cups and rhizoids are being shown. Further moving, we have is examples of mosses, funaria and sphagnum. So it can come to distinguish which one is funaria and which one is sphagnum. So out of these, funaria example is very important because they have labeled what is a sporophyte and what is a gametophyte. So what type of questions can come here? They can just ask you, for example, here instead of capsule they have told you just whether it is 2n or it is n, that is whether it is diploid or haploid. So you just have to be cool, and you know that gametophyte is always haploid and sporophyte is always diploid structure. Okay, so in this way diagram questions can come. So you have to go through this diagram, that capsule, seta and are parts of sporophyte, and in gametophyte they have just shown you this main plant body, that is main axis, rhizoids and leaves. Okay, so this was the funaria diagram. Here is the sphagnum diagram having enthedial branch and archegonial branch. So these were the diagrams regarding bryophytes. So I hope this topic is clear to you.